These are the required points to express in your ad. Feel free to paraphrase and speak from your own experience. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you. So, it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And please make sure, this point, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Do you know the spelling of anchor.fm? ANCHOR.FM. Thank you for your listening. See you. Здравствуйте. Меня зовут Richard Gom. Hello everyone, I'm Richard Gom of Walk to Live podcast version, and this time I'd like to talk. This time the topic is, as you see, I don't know if you are seeing the title, but German is Nemec in Russian, and Germany is Germania in Russian. I'm sorry for my stuttering. I often stutter when speaking foreign languages. And this time I will tell you again, German, Nemec means German, and German in Russian, and Germania means Germany in Russian language. And I changed the word orders from the first time, and this time what I'd like to tell you is that by learning foreign languages you can understand the relationships between the languages you are going to study, and the cultures surrounding the culture using that language. And this time, and maybe you can understand what I'm saying, and in this time I'd like to I'd like to use an example, and of course the example is Russian language. I have studied Russian language and I have studied Chinese language, and in the course of my life, the duration studying Chinese is the second longest than, and comparing with in English or after English. I spent a bunch of time. I have spent a lot of time studying English, which is, and maybe so do you. Maybe most of you have spent, except for native speakers of English language. But most European people have spent their own time, their own considerable times for studying English. Anyway, as I told you, I have studied Russian language, and in Russian language, German means Nemec, and German is Nemec, and Germany is Germania. And why the difference is that, and origin of Nemec is, Nemec is German, and in this time, Nemec means a German, which is in the case of this word Nemec, the German means, the German is noun, which means a German means a German person, and Nemec, a German means a German is, the German man actually, and Nemec is. Nemec is, anyway, Nemec is a German, and meaning a German person, and in this case, in the case of Nemec, a German is used as a noun, and what I'd like to tell you is that, in the past, in the past in Russia, German people have been a kind of, or a sort of segregated, and the origin of Nemec is, I investigated the original meaning of Nemec, and Nemec, which is a Russian word, and Nemec means unclear or incomprehensible speaker, muttering, murmuring, or mute and dumb. and that also means, so that anyway, Nemec means, originally Nemec means foreigners, foreigner. And anyway, the word Nemec means, the word Nemec has such meanings, pointing out, foreigners or people speaking unclear languages, and Nemec means people who don't speak Slavic languages. Nemec has such meanings, and nowadays Nemec is used for designating or indicating or meaning German. And anyway, so by learning Russian, you can understand the relationship between Russian culture and German culture, in putting yourself in the shoes of Russian people, for example, which means, in every culture, foreigners are looked down on, or foreigners are treated roughly or harshly, and and foreigners are segregated. In the case of this country, I live in Japan, and in the case of my country, other Asian people are looked down on, and but Chinese people are sort of worshipped, or Chinese people are sort of respected, because Japanese people use kanji or Chinese characters, and Japan in the ancient time, Japanese people learned many advanced technologies and advanced cultures from China, which is why maybe I think Japanese people genetically understand that they are after Chinese people, and Japanese people genetically or instinctively know that Japanese people can't defeat Chinese people, because Japanese people know that Chinese people are smarter and stronger than Japanese people. But anyway, in the case of Asian countries, China is the strongest, and other countries are coming after China. And by by using, what I'd like to tell you this time is that by by learning foreign languages, you can understand, for example, in the case of Russian language, you can understand the relationship between Russian language, Russian people, or Russian culture, and German culture, and how Russian culture look other how Russian culture looks other cultures. And in the case of China, China has been the strongest country in the ancient time in Asia, and China has looked down on, or China had found other cultures barbarous. For example, and China has special words meaning foreigners or other countries, and they are Dongyi, Xirong, Nanman, and Beidi, and they mean those four words mean barbarous people or barbarous races, and they are divided according to the directions of the barbarous people. For example, meaning is, the first word I said Dongyi, which means Dongyi means Eastern barbarous people, and Shirong is West barbarous people, or Western barbarous people, and Namman means Southern barbarous people, and Beidi means Northern barbarous people. Anyway, in the case of Chinese language, China is the strongest, and the most advanced in the ancient time, and other cultures are barbarous, and people from other cultures speak Chinese speak Chinese language clumsily, or the Chinese language is people coming from other territories speak you know barbarous or unclear Chinese language, Chinese language spoken by the Chinese language spoken by other people having other cultural backgrounds are unclear or really broken, which is why this is a case. This is a case in the case. This is a case to the the foreigners living in, for example, United States. In United States is an English speaking nation. United States is an English speaking nation in which people have so people of fresh off the boat speak unclear English, which is why the sensation or the sense is close to such people. For people people in the United States, I mean for the people whose mother tongue is English, and for the people who has Anglo-Saxon background, for example, so Hispanic people or for Asian people of first generations speak, you know, Nemec. What's the language? So the English language those foreigners speak is Nemec, having of original meaning. You know, maybe you can understand that sensation because what you're listening to is Nemec for you. If you are native speaker of English language, like which the language the English I speak is the English I speak is unclear foreigners English, and my English the English language I'm speaking is incomprehensible for you if you are native speaker of English language. Like which, by learning other languages, you can understand such things like, which country, which country loves which culture loves which culture, and which culture hates which culture, and which culture finds other cultures, for example, really intimate or really disgusting or really, incomprehensible or really weird. Any case is fine, but by learning foreign languages, you can, or better said, you cannot avoid seeing or recognizing such aspects, like in the case of learning Russian language, Russian culture looks down or Russian culture finds German culture barbarous, or and the Russian people maybe instinctively Russian people have found German people speaking incomprehensible languages, or maybe Russian people have found German people incomprehensible speakers, which is why which is how you can understand such relationships among cultures by learning other languages. And at last, let me correct my mistakes. So minutes before I said that the English language I speak out is Nemec, but Nemec means German person, as I explained minutes before. So the correct stuff, or the English language I speak out is Немецкий, not Nemec. And of course, Nemецki means German language, but tracing the origin of Nemецki back to the origin, or considering the origin of Nemec. Nemецki means the language such people who speak their languages clumsily, or Nemecki means the language such people speak, or the Nemecki means such language spoken by some people who can't speak Russian language decently, or people who speak Russian language clumsily. So in the case of my English language I speak, the English language I speak is Nemecki. That's it. Thank you very much for listening. See you.